As you're all probably aware, I'm generally a big fan when it comes to the games that WayForward technology produces. Ever since I discovered Shantae, Rizky's Revenge, back on my old iPhone about 5 years ago. Yes, I still have my old iPhone. It's an iPhone 4S in case you're curious. Man, time sure have flown since then. Anyways, I've always been entertained from their types of games, mainly their original properties, such as the aforementioned Shantae series. You damn well know I'm hyped for Shantae 5, and you can expect a stream or a review whenever that comes out. But that's not what we're here for today. Today, we have a collection on our hands. I would dare say, a mighty collection? Eh? Alright, that's clearly not gonna work. I need more entertainment. Where are my cats? But for real day, we're looking at the latest collection from WayForward, the Mighty Switch Force collection. I'm just gonna throw this out there right now that I'm not going to deeply cover basically most of the games that are on this collection, as I've made several reviews for most of them, and there'll be links in the cards up top for those that want to watch those. They're a little old, and I didn't know exactly what I was doing when it comes to making reviews, so cringe ahoy! But anyways, let's take a look at the Mighty Switch Force collection. I'm looking at the Steam release, but it's also available on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. So let's see if I might flick the switch to picking up the collection. Eh? Eh? What do you think? So first and foremost, you get 4 games inside of this collection. They advertise 4 games, but I honestly feel it's really only 3. You get Mighty Switch Force, Mighty Switch Force 2, Mighty Switch Force Hyperdrive Edition, and Mighty Switch Force Academy. There's one game that is absent from this collection, and that is Mighty Switch Force Hose It Down. Originally, it was a mobile-only game, but eventually did see a PC port a couple years back. It's a decent bit different from the main series Mighty Switch Force games, considering this is mainly just a puzzle game and not a puzzle platformer. But considering that this is a collection and they threw in 2 of basically the same game, minus Hyperdrive Edition being more of an HD overhaul and having bonus levels, I don't see why they couldn't have included it in the collection as well. The goal of each game is simple: capture/rescue the 5 hooligan sisters in each level, and get the hell out of there with your robot corporal gendarmer. How you achieve this is the tricky part, as the games are all 2D puzzle platformers, as I stated before. Control Patricia Wagon, or Patty for short, through each of the stages as either a police officer or a firewoman, while avoiding enemies, spikes, and phasing blocks. The main gimmick of the series is swapping blocks in and out of reality to maneuver all throughout the stages, and that basically sums up the Mighty Switch Force series as a whole. As a forewarning though, I'm not going to go in depth too much on Mighty Switch Force 1/Hyperdrive Edition and Mighty Switch Force Academy, as I've already made full out reviews on each of those games, which I will link in the card on the top right throughout this video. Be forewarned though, there are some of my earlier videos, so cringe warning is to the max. But without further ado, let's go into each of these games and see what they offer different from each other.
Mighty Switch Force!
The first game sees you as Police Officer Patty Wagon, set out to capture the recently escaped hooligan sisters through 15 regular stages, ending with a pathetically easy boss. And that's really it for the story. The game, as stated before, is a puzzle platformer with emphasis on swapping blocks in and out of reality. You swap these blocks with the triggers, bumpers, or the B button, if you're playing on an Xbox controller. The game is full of swapping blocks, from the simple ones to the obnoxious red and blue blocks that don't swap if you're standing on them. The second half of the game is full of these blocks, and it really gives me a headache when trying to remember what needs to be swapped or not. But I guess that's part of the puzzle aspect, and I could say I'm rather stupid when it comes to figuring these out. I'd be thinking for several minutes on a simple puzzle, and the answer is extremely obvious and in front of my face, to only then realize it, and then I'll feel like a dumbass for not seeing it sooner. You can phase blocks into reality to defeat enemies as well, which is required for some puzzles, but you are also susceptible to taking damage from this, so don't get too switchy and end up killing yourself as a result. You have 3 hit points, and you can replenish them with these floppy disks. What are in them that make them so tasty? But that's basically it for Mighty Switch Force 1 and the HD version. I've been swapping footage back and forth, and here's a quick comparison of the intros before we head into the Mighty Switch Force 2.
Switch Force 2!
So in Mighty Switch Force 2, you ditch the police officer getup and you're now a firefighter, saving the newly turned Leaf hooligan sisters from the fire-engulfed Tangent City. This time, armed with a not flood, your mission is still the same: rescue the girls and also kick a random baby.
You're safe!
Why does it make a kickball sound? How does kicking a baby save it? Anyways, the game brings back many of the same mechanics from the first game, but now since you're using a fire hose, fire is scattered throughout the level, and it honestly brings down the level design for me as a whole. It forces you to stop in your tracks a good chunk of the time to put the fire out in order to progress, and it makes getting the par times much harder. You might have noticed the timer in the top left corner of the screen. Your time during each of the stages, and if you manage to get under the set par time, you'll get a star. Getting all the par times isn't required to beat the game, but doing so will get you a different version of the title screen. I decided to go forward on my 3DS version when I had nothing better to do with my life. And that's all you get as far as I'm aware. It adds to the replay value of trying to get and nab all the par times, but I honestly couldn't be bothered for this review. I would say going for the fastest time would be for bragging rights, but they removed the leaderboards from the game. The original PC release of Hyperdrive Edition and Academy had online leaderboards, but are strangely removed for this collection. Why? I have no idea, but it makes getting the par times feel that much less important. If you were to go for the par times, I would suggest waiting until after you beat the main game of each game, because you unlock a significantly more powerful weapon, and it makes going through each stage and getting the par times much easier. This game decides to add another color block to the already annoying red and blue blocks, this being the green blocks. These puzzles really rattled my brain and only made me feel much more stupid when I finally figured out the answer, only to either get shot, fall into spikes, or smacked in the face with a block. I would say that 2 is harder than the original, but it might just be me because I have never played Mighty Switch Force 2 before, as it was only ever released on the Nintendo 3DS and the Wii U, and until this collection, I never picked it up. I had some growing pains going back to the series as a whole, because I haven't played the games in over a year, and even that was for a quick live stream. But in my personal opinion, I found Mighty Switch Force 2 to be harder than Mighty Switch Force 1. Both are easily beatable in under 2 hours though. But most of your time will be spent after beating the game if you dare go for those part times or the extra bonus levels included in each game. To which I say,
no, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
but that's Mighty Switch Force 2. It's about the same as the original with a little twist on the mechanics and also minor child abuse.
I believe I can fly.
Mighty Switch Force Academy!
Now then, on to the last game of the collection, which is a prequel to the series, Mighty Switch Force Academy. This game takes place inside of a simulation, after the training machine malfunctions and traps Patty inside. This game goes back to the roots of the first game, where you're back to being Officer Patty Wagon, but this time you're able to see the entire stage, with Pac-Man syndrome, on the sides and occasionally on the floor. It can make planning your route throughout the stage easier, but can also make it more complicated depending on the stage because things can be quite small and hard to see. This is the first and only game in the series to include co-op and a versus mode, but I was unable to try it out in this review. But I had tried it out in my original review, and from what I remember, it was a fun distraction from the main game, trying to dick over your friends and capture the Hooligan Sisters before them. It's probably also the best way to get the par times in the game because each person could go on a different route and capture each Hooligan Sister themselves instead of one at a time. The music of this game is a mixture of the first two games' soundtracks, and the series itself has an amazing soundtrack. Do I even need to mention this considering it's Jake Kaufman we're talking about? Just listen to some of these tracks, not to mention the credits song at the end of Mighty Switch Force 2, Rescue Girl.
You're my rescue girl. You can save the world. Oh, in my heart, and when you're apart, I keep you yearning. So rescue me. I can finally see your mind. I see the planet is burning. Rescue girl, yeah, you are the world to me. And I promise I'll be there for you forever. So rescue me, come and set me free. At last from the flames in my heart.
this video gets 50 likes, I'll try to do a cover of Rescue Girl.
I'll leave a link in the description below to his Bandcamp so you can get these game soundtracks. They're a great listen, and I've had these on my phone ever since I first heard them. That's basically it for the Mighty Switch Force collection. For only 20 bucks, you're getting 3 very solid puzzle platformer games, plus 1 shiny coat of paint that'll test your brain and reflexes. The gameplay is fun and challenging, and the replay value for wanting to go for the hard times is enticing. The soundtrack alone kept me from getting frustrated throughout my playthroughs. For the final time, I'll stress though, if you want more in-depth reviews of Mighty Switch Force 1 and Academy, go check out the original reviews. The Mighty Switch Force collection is available on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC. Go check them out if you're interested. Special thanks to WayForward for hooking me up with the collection. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a fantastic night. Take care, and don't forget to keep being awesome. Snyder, you got anything else to say? He's a quiet one. Later, everyone. You're getting 3 very solid Snyder. They'll test your brains and reflexes. I burped. We have a collection on our hands. I would dare say a mighty collection. Hazel, I told you to be nice. No. Sit down. Sit down. Sit. Yes. Hey! What did I say?